This lecture is presented by Danny Kessler, Associate Professor at Dongso University and Korea's first PhD in wellness tourism. The global tourism industry operates on a single core assumption. The primary functional purpose of leisure travel is to reduce physiological stress. To achieve that stress reduction, the human nervous system requires a specific biological counterstate. It needs pure, focused stillness, completely isolated from the chaotic, high-decibel environments of standard tourist destinations. The modern travel industry fails to provide this environment. We are facing an operational crisis defined by over-tourism and a condition we call leisure fatigue. Navigating crowded transit hubs, standing in dense queues, and managing aggressive itineraries creates a logistical burden. This process actively spikes systemic cortisol levels, directly contradicting the biological purpose of the trip. Given these biological costs, the future of wellness tourism moves away from conventional luxury toward models that prioritize structural sustainability and measurable psychological insight. The standard luxury resort model is resource-intensive. It requires heavy infrastructure, constant resource extraction, and continuous new construction to maintain market appeal. The Korean Templestay offers a structural countermodel to this cycle of expansion. Instead of clearing land for new facilities, the system utilizes immense pre-existing monastic architecture. The infrastructure was built centuries ago and remains fully functional. We classify this approach as low-impact, high-insight tourism. This model scales globally because it avoids physical product limitations. It sells an environment specifically designed to modify the visitor's psychological state. Heritage preservation represents a strategy that leverages existing assets rather than requiring massive new capital expenditure for construction. There is a massive, quantifiable global demand for functional wellness interventions that actually lower stress biomarkers. This graph shows rising global demand intersecting the stable line of heritage preservation. This intersection makes sustainable scaling mathematically possible. The glowing nodes represent a fully built, maintained nationwide infrastructure. This spatial matrix is highly exportable, focusing entirely on regulating universal human biology. Isolated hyper-luxury retreat centers eventually hit a ceiling of diminishing returns based on spatial limits and high operating costs. This sustainable network avoids that ceiling entirely. It forces a transition from passive, low-engagement sightseeing to active, measurable physiological transformation. Delivering scalable mental health interventions requires a standardized physical network. A preserved monastic system provides exactly that architecture. Korea has achieved a highly specific operational feat, standardizing a ritual-to-renewal pipeline for an international audience. They accomplished this by taking heavy physical traditions, practices honed over 1,000 years, and integrating them into a modern functional framework. Engaging in these repetitive, tactile actions forces the brain to bypass internal cognitive stress loops, rapidly grounding the autonomic nervous system. Traditional ceremonies require intense precision. This deliberate control of movement acts as a mechanism for pure attention training. Visitors in this pipeline are not passive observers of a cultural performance. They are active participants placed inside a tightly regulated system. Repurposing cultural rituals into specific, standardized actions yields a highly scalable protocol for global mental health recovery. The operational philosophy driving the Templestay is what we call a system of voluntary constraints. The monastic environment imposes strict physical and social requirements. Specific postures are mandated, and silence is enforced. These external constraints trigger a regulated biological reset. By restricting physical movement and vocal output, the body is forced to drop its cortisol production. The architecture of the space operates as a behavioral boundary. The imposing geometry and enclosed courtyards dictate exactly where and how a participant can move. Removing external digital stimuli and enforcing strict spatial boundaries limits neural processing. This directly silences the hyperactive prefrontal cortex. True biological recovery requires a mathematically strict reduction of variables. Constraint is highly superior to indulgence. A large portion of the current market consists of wellness theater, a superficial aesthetic of relaxation that looks good in marketing materials but yields zero biological data. This UI matrix shows the concrete three-pillar strategic framework required to design the next generation of effective wellness programs. The first pillar leverages existing green heritage. Utilizing historical sites eliminates the massive carbon footprint associated with new commercial buildouts. The second pillar ensures sustainability. The operation must integrate the local community and preserve the site's historical integrity to remain viable long-term. The third pillar mandates biological impact. The program must abandon superficial luxury and focus strictly on delivering high-margin, measurable physiological results. Startups and industry strategists can apply this exact pipeline to their own regions, packaging local history into a highly scalable recovery product. True innovation in hospitality means operationalizing historical infrastructure to deliver verifiable biological outcomes. This data exposes a core flaw in standard hospitality theory, which we identify as the autonomy paradox. Standard luxury resorts offer infinite choices, endless menus, activity rosters, and custom schedules. This constant stream of options actively triggers decision fatigue, preventing neural recovery. The Templestay provides the necessary countermeasure, choice poverty. By forcibly removing the burden of decision-makings in the participant, the nervous system is allowed to rest, and recovery accelerates significantly. These three pillars, green heritage, biological need, and active transformation, form the structural foundation of the model. To succeed in the modern wellness economy, a manager can no longer operate as a servant of pleasure. The effective leader is a curator of constraints. The Korean Templestay provides a complete protocol for deep biological recovery, a framework that can be fully standardized across highly diverse global cultural contexts.